Today I'm joined by Ray Cooke, one of Ireland's most recognisable names in real estate. Ray's story starts early, his first job at just 11 years old, and takes us through travel, hustle and the mindset required to build a successful business from the ground up. In this episode we get into Ray's journey, the lessons learned along the way, and what it really takes to succeed in property. We also break down the different paths to becoming a licensed real estate professional and exactly what Ray looks for in hiring. If you're interested in real estate, entrepreneurship or figuring out your next career move, this is an episode you won't want to miss. This episode is brought to you by Top Drawer Talent, the supply chain procurement recruitment specialist, Nesta Storage, Dublin's #1 self-storage provider, and IT.ie, keeping businesses secure and connected with managed IT and cybersecurity solutions. Let's get into it. Here we go. Ray, thanks very much for coming in. It's good to have you. I think it's been a long time in the making. But I suppose, who is Ray Cooke? What do you do?
We're 20 years in business, actually only last month. We are best known probably for sales and lettings and property management, but we would have a financial services wing with mortgages and pensions, and we'd have another company, a buyer's agent company as well. So we've a number of companies there.
Okay. Was the plan always to be in real estate, or did you want to be a footballer when you were young?
I just wanted to be rich, you know what I mean? Like, so if I'm being honest, I just wanted to have loads of money, like, you know, so, no, like I said, look, I went into hotel management straight after school, you know, did my leaving cert, whatever it was, in May or June, and September I was down in Kerry working as a hotel or a trainee hotel manager, like, you know, so.
Why did you all go all the way down to Kerry?
They were called the Great Southern Hotel Group, and it was like an apprenticeship, you know, so you were trained up. So they had a chain of hotels across Ireland, and they had a famous enough one called Park Nasilla down there, and it was a 4-star, I think it's 5-star now, but I was down there. It's a place called Sneem, just outside of Kenmare, and I was down there for 2 years and 2.5 years, and you know, it was great crack, and there was a lot of learning to it, but I soon found out there I don't want to be working Christmas and Easter and summers, and you know, and the pay was terrible as well. So I got out of there fairly quickly.
Because you're from Dublin originally?
Yeah, I'm from Racool there, and I still live just outside of Racool there as well. Yeah, back up to Dublin. I left that when I was probably around 19, 20. Actually was down in Rosslare with them as well. I think that put the final nail in the coffin. Rosslare Harbour is a fairly depressing place now in the winter months. Geez,
I think that's Ireland in general.
Yeah, it was terrible now. Honestly, geez, it was terrible. And then I went to Australia for a year, and I had a couple of jobs before I went there.
Yeah.
I knew I was going to be going to Australia just as I turned 21, and had a couple of other jobs there, which were grand. I worked in C&C, which was they were just after taking over Bulmer cider at that stage, you know, and they were changing Bulmers at the time. You know, cider at the time they're called you know, whatever a drink there, lads that be drinking it down on the canals there and their flagons, like, you know, the cider. And then they actually pulled that was one of their biggest sellers, and they went to the pint bottle, you know, which obviously everyone knows what the pint bottle of Bulmers is now, but that was a new thing back in 1999, 2000-ish, and I was working with them when we launched it, and it was huge. It absolutely took off like a rocket. But then I wanted to go travelling, so I went to Australia then when I was 21 for just 11.5 months. I had to come back. My brother was getting married, and he was getting married in December, and I started in real estate then in first week in January.
And going all the way back though, before we get into the whole real estate story, what was school like for you growing up? Like, were you academic or were you a messer?
No, I love school, but what I love school about was the boys and the girls and the crack.
Okay, and you mixed school?
Yeah, mixed school in Racool, and I loved sports, and I got on with everyone, like, you know, but academically I probably wasn't the best, you know. My strongest subjects were technical drawing, history and business studies, and then I was terrible at Irish. I loved English. I loved drama, but in relation to, for whatever reason, I could never remember poems or science or anything like that, and I only found out in my 30s that I'm dyslexic.
Okay.
So that probably answered a lot of those reasons why I always struggled to probably learn and memorize certain things. But there was other things then that I'd be brilliant at. Like history, I think people say you'd have to remember stuff with history. I did, but history was stories, you know. You're learning the history and, you know, and whatever else. Tech drawing was different. You're using a different part of your brain. And business studies, I obviously had a huge interest in because I knew I was always going to go into business, you know.
What made you go and get tested at the age of 30 for dyslexia?
Like I said, I just did. My actually son is dyslexic as well, and it was around the same time. So like I said, we were looking at a couple of different things and whatever else, and everything you're reading up, you're kind of going, geez, this sounds a little bit familiar and whatever else. And I remember reading loads of things about Richard Branson and other bits and pieces, and you're kind of copping onto it. I probably always knew, probably from my late 20s or 30s, but it was only probably in my mid to late 30s I kind of, you know, found out there. So, but you know, everyone is different, you know. It made me work a different way, you know. So I was never going to I never had an interest to go through the college route. I always preferred, like, what I was always like, I had a job since I was 11, you know. So
in terms of, was it that your son getting him diagnosed that made you go and have a look, or?
Yeah, we looked at it, and again, talking to certain doctors at the time and stuff like that, they just said, obviously, and a lot of the time it can be hereditary as well in certain circumstances as well. So. Yeah.
And then what was that first job that you had at 11? Like, what were you doing?
I asked my dad for more pocket money when I was in 6th class, about to go into first year. And he was going out playing golf that day, and he was playing golf with the manager of the Puchin still at the time. And he came back and said, I'm after getting you a job doing the bottles in the pub.
Just going around collecting bottles off the table?
No, what they do is when they give you a Club Orange or whatever, a bottle of beer, and then they put it into the blue bins, and then you'd have to put all the Club Orange into Club Orange crates, you'd have to put the Coca-Cola into the Coke crates, you'd have to, and so forth and so forth. And like back then, now in the 90s, now you can imagine the pubs, like they'd be 6 deep at the Puchin on a Tuesday night, never mind a Saturday night. So you'd go in and there'd be a big shed, probably the size of this room now, and the bottles would be 6 foot high, and you'd have to start sorting them on the Saturday morning. You'd actually only get through them Sunday, and I was probably only making around 25 punts, but at 12 years of age, like I said, so I kind of learned to value. I was probably making anywhere from 80 to 100 pounds a month by the age of 12. And I loved money, and like it was the best lesson. And my dad was always cute like that. Whatever money you earn yourself is your money, you know. You hold on to it, and then you go off and you start buying your tracksuits or your football jerseys or your Nike Air, and then you realise, Jesus, I'm after spending a whole month's wages there now. You know, I'm back breaking work on a pair of runners or a tracksuit or something. So you kind of you learn the value of money very quickly.
And was your dad an entrepreneur as well, or?
No, he wasn't at all. He worked in, it's called PMPA. Oh, sorry, it was called PMPA then. It's called AXA now, which is insurance. So he would have done the payroll in there. So he would have done the wages there for years and years. So that's what he did. And Mam worked in the hospital in town, like, you know. So
how long did you keep the job in the Puchin for?
I worked in there all the way until 6th year.
Okay, so you must have been a good employee.
I was always good. Like I said, I was doing the bottles, and then I started doing deliveries and the kegs and all. And you're not realising at the time you're strong as an ox because you're lifting kegs up tree high, like, you know, and whatever else. And then I went into the lounge, and I was always like tall. Like I was 5'10" when I was 11, and then once I went into the first year, I went up to 6 foot, and I haven't grown since. Obviously outwards, but not upwards. And
all that cigarette smoke.
And that's what it was, all the ashtray. It was like, when you think back on it, like, you know, different times. Imagine sending an 11 or 12-year-old into work now. But I was different. Like I said, I was very mature, you know, for my age. And then I was a barman in the Puchin since I was in probably 2nd year, maybe, you know, junior cert. And so like I said, I loved it, like, you know, so because I loved having my own money. And then sure, as soon as 17, I was able to go out and buy a car for myself and do this and do that for myself. So it was brilliant. And it was a great way of learning how to deal with money and budget.
And why was college not something that you're interested in? Just that was just totally off the cards. It wasn't something that was even encouraged at home, was it?
Oh yeah, like it was pushed, you know, but I just didn't like it. I knew I didn't have the mind for it. I just wanted to be hands-on. And that's what I liked about the hotel management. I obviously had the idea that I'd go in and open a chain of restaurants or chain of hotels and stuff like that. And that was what the plan was, you know. So I was always going to have my own, I'm going to go in and learn the business, and then I'm going to own my own chain. And then obviously I went in, and because I obviously went on from the bar business, I loved it. But that was different because it was, you're obviously mixing with younger people and socialising, and you're starting to drink a few pints as well and whatever else. And then you're obviously 17 different times, but like I said, 17 then going down to Kerry, like, you know, if you think about it again, they're 19 leaving school now. I was only just gone 17, and going down to Kerry, and then all of a sudden you're over lads that are 35, 40. You know, you're in charge of these kind of guys after a while, but again, I was miles ahead. Like I was a 17-year-old, like a 26-year-old, if that makes sense. And I was miles ahead, and then I soon realised, look, you're working 80-hour weeks. It's terrible pay. And
was that just the mindset, right, from like working from 11 in pubs, that you just kind of gained that maturity from being around adults all the time?
Yeah. So like I said, you're with older lads, you're with lads in their 20s, 30s, 40s, working with lads. You're working with lads, you know, you soon realise your man is the same age as my dad. And sure, Jesus, he's a good bit of crack, isn't he? Like, you know, and you're out for a few drinks or whatever. So you kind of realise there soon enough there, I matured a lot, like, you know. So I like I said, I was probably a little bit bored when I was younger because I was so focused.
Okay, and like you're obviously doing quite well now, right? But if you could go back now after going through the school system so many years ago, would you change anything now, or do you think it's?
No, I wouldn't change a thing.
No,
I made a million mistakes. Did a lot of good things as well, but I always just loved the idea of business. Like even in school, I set up this thing called a pre-debs, you know, and it was obviously before the debs.
Okay, for an event.
And it was an event, you know, and they're doing them all now. But like I said, back then there was no such thing. And I remember read an article about it, and someone in the UK or America said, "Geez, we could make a few pound here." So the guy that I used to work in the Putcheen, he went up to Nighthawks in Kill and was running the Dewdrop Inn, which is up there, and there's a big kind of nightclub section of it there. And I went in and said, "Look, can I rent this? It's for pre-debs." They're all over 18s, obviously, you know. And I was only 16 or 17 myself at that stage, but he didn't realise. He always thought he was older, you know. And I had something like 200 plus people going to it. Tickets were 20 quid. We hired buses. We had DJs, whatever. So that was the first kind of business thing that I did, and I was kind of loved it. And what I did was, I went to school with lads from Clondalkin, a couple from Tala, some from Kill and Nace, and I was kind of going, well, do you know what, we'll hire a bus there, we'll hire a bus. What I'll do is, I'm going to give you so many tickets, and you can hold on to 25% of the, you know, whatever. So, but I knew then they'd bring 50 or 40, or, you know what I mean? So all of a sudden I knew I had, because you couldn't just make it from Racool, like, you know, because it's small enough, and all of a sudden it was wedged then, and I made a killing from it, like, you know.
Yeah, that's the one I asked you, was did you go back?
Yeah, it was only I probably made 1,500, $2,000, but like I said, but it was massive money, like, you know, so it was huge, like, you know, so, but I had to pay the DJ, there was obviously extra bouncers that they need, so, you know what I mean, you had to hire the venue, bits and pieces like that then as well, like, so it was, you learned a lot, like, I thought I'd make more, you know, but there was an extra few costs at the end that kind of nabbed me as well.
Where did that entrepreneurial spark come from? Like, was there someone in your family that was an entrepreneur, or like a neighbour? Or?
I had uncles there that had done it, and you know, maybe it's very whatever superficial or whatever, but it was like the estate agent in Racool. He was always driving a Mercedes and always had a big house. And I remember seeing that and kind of going, Jesus, you know, sure, all you have to do is talk to people, and, you know, and sure, it's easy, like, and sure, you'd be loaded. And I always said it, and I said it in another podcast as well. I was 10, and my brother was having a party in the house, and he had all fellas and girls over or whatever, and the girls were like, "Oh, what are you going to do when you grow up?" And I was like, "Don't know, but I'm going to be a millionaire," you know. And they started laughing at me, but I was like, "Well, I am," you know. And like I said, and ever since then, I always knew that I was going to go into business, and I didn't know what it was going to be, but I knew that I was going to go into business, you know.
And then the hospitality thing, then moving down to Kerry, right? So how did that work? Like, did you have to go through like 3 rounds of interviews, or was it just fill in a form and can you come down and start?
The truth being told, I had an uncle that was managing one of the hotels, and it's not what you know, it's who you know, you know. And he kind of said, "I think you'd be good at this." So obviously there was a huge, there was only like 10 spaces and there was hundreds applying, but again, obviously because I had the experience in the Putcheen, the lads loved me in the Putcheen, you know what I mean, and got glowing references from there. Obviously the uncle pushing there as well. I was able to get in there as well, like, you know.
So what's the accommodation like down there? Were you staying in the hotel, or did you have to stay in a
staff houses? Like, it doesn't matter what day of the week there was always someone to go drinking with, like, you know. So it was great crack, like, you know. And that's what I'm saying. And everyone was young, and then there was Eastern European girls there, French, Irish lads, was great crack. And like I said, there was 3 or 4 different staff houses, and I probably can't tell you the stories here on the podcast now, but it was great crack. Like, but like 7 days a week, it didn't matter what day, because a lot of the time in that industry, you're off on a Monday and a Tuesday, or you're off a split day. You might be off on a Monday and a Wednesday, or a Monday and a Thursday. But it didn't matter. Like I said, if you finished your job at 11 or 12 or 1 o'clock at night, you could go somewhere and there'd be a party on a Monday night. Like, you know, it was great crack. Like, you know, great times. Like, you know.
And what pushed you then towards the move into Australia? Like, why did you?
I always wanted to go travelling, and I knew I wanted to get into estate agency, but back then it was no one was going to sell. Even though I looked older than it, when I was 19, I probably looked 23, 24. But I knew then no one was going to sell a house with a 19-year-old. So I kind of said, right, I have my plan here. I'm going to go to Australia for a year. I went straight after my 21st. Coming back from 22, get straight into it. And then I knew then as well, my mates were all doing apprenticeships or doing college or whatever, and they weren't going to be coming out till they're 22, 23. So I would have had to wait another 2 or 3 years, and then they probably would have went for 2 years. They did go for 2.5 years, 3 years. And then I was coming back when I was 24, 25 to start off. At that stage, by the time I was 25, sure, I had a couple of houses, and, you know, so again, I was very mature, like, you know, so. And
what was your job out in Australia?
I worked in a bank. I think it's ANZ Bank. I went to Melbourne originally. I was there for 3 months and worked in a bank there, and they wanted to keep me, but I wanted to go travelling because I knew my brother's wedding was in December, you know, and I arrived over there in January. So I then went backpacking for the next, whatever that is, 8-9 months, you know. And great crack. I went all the way up went up the east and west coast. Then we got a car and drove all the way around, and it was brilliant, great crack. And then did a bit of farming. I worked in a bar, and then I was bar manager in there for probably a month or 2 as well, and that was good crack as well. Like out in the outback now, like they used to farmers, like you'd be saying, oh, do you have much land? I wouldn't have much, probably, you know, 100 or so. It's 100 acres, Jesus. No, 100,000. You know, you were like, what? But it's so big. Like you'd be driving in Australia for 4 hours, and you'd be going from one town to the next. You wouldn't see anything, you know. So it's huge. Like you could nearly fit Australia over Europe. It's that big, like, you know. So people don't realise how big it is, like, you know. Do
you feel like because you went travelling for that year, you got all that madness out of your system, that you're able to kind of go into monk mode then to help build your business?
Yeah. I was very focused. I knew when I came back, I was going to get into it, and I was going to put my head down, and probably didn't know that it was going to grow to this size, but like I said, I knew there that I would eventually go out on my own. I was always a good team player. I was always of the attitude there when I went in there that I got to get my head down. I'm going to be the best. I knew that, I'm not going to be the smartest guy in the room in relation to academically, but I would be the best, and I'd outwork you. I guarantee you, if I started in any job, I'd outwork everyone. Because that was just my attitude, you know, that I wanted to be, I didn't want to be the best, but I just wanted, I always gave everything 110%.
Yeah, okay, that's fair enough. I'll be the same, I'm not probably as smart as you, but I'll just put the hours in. And
that's what it's about, like, and then you just learn your craft, and you become the best at your craft. It doesn't matter what you're doing, like, you know. So, and that was my attitude. I came in, and it didn't matter who I was with. Like I said, I knew I'd outwork them. And then my attitude was, you know, the busier the office was, so if my colleague was busy, that's great, because that means the phone would ring more, and then I'd get business off that. You know, and the whole team doing well. Instead of you being the weak person, I tried to improve you, because then you'd get more sales, and then the phone would ring more, and I'd get more business. So that was the way I always taught now, like, you know, and that's what I brought into my own business is, you know, everyone does well, and then the phone rings. Well, it's not more about the phone anymore. It's email and social media and stuff like that, you know.
And the first job that you got in estate agents, was it far from Rathcoole, or was it in Rathcoole?
It was in
did you know someone?
The person. No, I didn't know. I applied to every company in Dublin, and I got probably 6 job offers. And 4 of the job offers, they weren't going to be letting me sell houses for 6 months to a year. You know, you'd have to come in as a trainee, you'd have to do this and that and whatever. And then the person I went with, they had 2 offices in Clondalkin and Tala at the time, and I was able to basically sell houses straight away.
Sure. Okay. And did you have to get a license back then as well, or
No, it was different back then. So there was no licensing. So the person who owned the business would have had to get a license, you know, apply for a license themselves. But there was no regulator or anything like that back then. It was an unregulated business. So you could be doing podcasting or being a painter and decorator one day, and then the following day you could be working for a estate agent selling houses.
Okay, I think, geez, that's mental.
But it's mad, yeah. But that's why it's changed now. But that's the way it was when I started off. But what I did was, because, again, at whatever 22, I applied to IPAV, which is the industry, the Irish Institute of Professional Auctioneers and Valuers, to go off and do my 2-year course to get my qualifications.
Right.
So I actually did that, and I did that in the evenings and the weekends. So for 2 years. And I got my qualifications then, because I knew that I wanted to set up my own business, and I wanted to have that qualification there. So if someone turns around and says, "Oh, you're only a young fella," but I was qualified, I had the letters behind the name and stuff like that.
How long did it take you to sell your first house?
Not very long, because it was 2003, basically, beginning of 2003. Houses were selling in 2-3 weeks. You know, I remember it was a house in Hazelwood Crescent in Clondalkin, just behind the Green Isle in Clondalkin. And if you ever go up down that way and turn left at the Green Isle, that's Hazelwood Crescent there. And it was a 3-bed semi, and I remember it selling at the time for like 267,000, and we had it on at 250,000, which was mad, crazy money back then. But that was just the start of it, because obviously that was just the rocket about to be just being placed on the ground now, about to explode at the Celtic Tiger, like, you know. So. Jeez.
And were you always like just selling properties, or did you rentals as well, or?
We did a bit of rentals as well, but rentals weren't sexy. You know, no one wanted to do rentals, because there wasn't that many. Everyone could buy a house back then. You know, banks were throwing money. A lot of the EU money had come into Ireland. Everyone could buy houses. Even people that were on social welfare were buying houses. It was crazy times, right? And every Tom, Dick and Harry could buy a house. So there was very few people that were actually renting. There was people that were renting, but it was they were hard work rentals. There was a lot of the African migrants that had come in at that stage, and they were probably the only people that were renting as well. And it was just hard work. There was always problems. Whereas then you could go off and sell a house and make 4 or 5 grand commission at the time, or maybe not that high, but it was a lot easier. Whereas you go out and rent a house and get, a fifth or a sixth of the fee, like, and you'd have loads of crap and hassle, like, you know.
How did you learn the sales side of it, right? Because I presume like estate agents go through some kind of sales training, or was that hard for you to pick up, or did it just kind of come to you naturally?
To be honest, I was just thrown in the deep end. I was thrown in the deep end, and I went out and shadowed a couple of the agents that were there, and they were great agents at the time. And I had an older guy there, Liam Shorten, who was a Cork man from Knockline, living in Knockline, and he took me under his wing there for probably 3 to 6 months anyway, and he was brilliant. Lisa in there as well, and Jer, and a few other ones as well. They were brilliant in there, and just learned the business, and it was. Like I love to tell you, it was a training thing.
Yeah,
it was basically
just on the apprenticeship almost.
It was you had to be a sponge. You had to just listen to. You just had to listen to them, And in fairness, I listened to everything. That was, and again, that's probably my dyslexic brain. Like verbally, you're listening to them, and it was on the phone. And I went out and I'd give them a hand doing viewings and this and that. Because again, when you're doing a viewing, it's not as simple as I'll just open the door. You could have 10 people coming to a viewing, but they could bring their partners and their sisters and their brothers and their parents and that. So you could have 10 viewers coming tonight, and all of a sudden you have 50 or 60 people in the house. How do you manage that? So that's little things like that. So it was bits and pieces. So I learned a lot. But look, I was a hard worker, as in, I was in my early 20s. I wanted to buy a house. I saw within 6 months, I came back and I owed a few pounds coming back from Australia. Every time I was ringing home or ringing a friend, will you throw me over 500 quid, So I came back owing a couple of grand. I paid that off within a couple of months, because, and then I said, right, I saw, obviously you're in property every day. I saw a couple of properties, and I went off to try to save and buy my first property then straight away.
What's the most amount of people you've ever had come to one viewing?
I've had a couple of them there. There'll be over 100 people.
You're joking. Like, is this so we're seeing all these like new housing estates popping up? We're seeing like people queuing over.
These are second-hand houses. The new houses. Yeah, you've had a couple of hundreds. Like I said, we sold one in Stocking Well there, new builds. We don't really sell that many new builds, but we sold one years ago, and you know, the first day it was only like 20 or 30 houses, and there must have been 300, 400 people there, like, you know, so queuing. So but a lot of them are tire kickers, you know, they're not actually there to buy it, like they just want to come in and have a look at the new shiny thing down the road, you know. So
really? And they'd spend that time like just queuing just to have a look?
yeah, they want to have a look, and they have a coffee in the hand, and they might have the buggy with their kids out for a walk, and you know. But again, there is some people, genuine people looking at buying, yeah. But the second hand ones, yeah, have been crazy, like as in you'd have depends where the house is, obviously, and the price and stuff like that, yeah. But we've had some crazy viewings there where you had 150 people, you know. Like I was never a big fan of open viewings, but they were a bit of a fad there for a while before COVID and before COVID time, and you'd have an open viewing and you'd no control over who was going to come. So normally what would happen is you'd advertise the property, you would ring in or email in and say, I'm interested in viewing that property. We'd say, right, it's Saturday at 2 o'clock or it's Tuesday at 7. And we'd then have all your details, so we'd be in control of who was coming. Whereas in the open viewings, you'd put up an open viewing at Tuesday at 2 o'clock, and no one could turn up, or you could have 100 people turn up, like, you know. Okay. So, and again, are they 100 vetted people? No, you've no control. So we stopped that as soon as it was a fad there for a while that you had to do it because everyone else was doing it.
Get the nosy neighbours in having a look.
Yeah, all the time, yeah.
But how long were you in your first estate agents before you decided to go and set up on your own?
My boss actually died around 3 or 4 weeks after turning 40, and massive heart attack, and his wife took over, and I soon realised I didn't want to work for her, and she wasn't exactly a great manager. So so I remember asking for a pay rise, and she gave me an extra €1,000, even though I brought in probably 250, 300 grand for that year, like, you know, and I was probably only earning around 40,000, you know. So I think I was only on like 17 grand basic or 18 grand basic or something, like, you know. So she didn't obviously value me, so I said that's fine, and I was maybe 24 at that stage, and I said okay, no hassle, that's my kick up the arse there. So I went and started looking. I set up my company and I started looking then for shops. As it turned out, it was basically 20 feet across the road from my first office. So as it turned out, it was basically the width of the road. Yeah. So across from her, and it was a small office there that I got in Clondalkin village, and that was and I opened my office on the 25th of November 2005.
Okay. What was the mind shift like going from, let's say, employee to entrepreneur? Was it a big mind shift for you, or were you kind of ready for it?
Of course it is, because you're spending your own money. Yeah. Like, it's crazy. I had to remortgage my house to have just the money to go into it to set it up.
What kind of seed money, or can you tell us what you put in?
At the time, I probably, between savings and stuff, I probably put in at the time 50, 60,000, I would say. And then obviously a little bit of money there to kind of keep you going. But I kind of really bootstrapped it, like, you know, bootstrapped it like it was like cheap as chips now, you know. And I opened it up, and I had a good name in that 2 or 3 years that I was working for the other crowd, and I just, like, there was no computers. Like, if you think, like, 2005,
pen
like,
and paper and a phone,
pen and paper and phone, and I printed off leaflets and I hand delivered them. You got one sale, and you'd ride the shit out of that sale, you know. Oh, I've just listed this sale. Oh, I've just got offers on this sale. Oh, and you'd be leaflet dropping everywhere. Oh, this has gone sale agreed. I've underbidders, and and then another sale will lead to that, and you'd have your for sale sign up. And luckily enough, you might get your sign up on a couple of busy roads or something like that. Someone would see the sign, would ring in. You get out and value a couple more houses, and it's kind of snowballed from there. Then, like, you know.
Did it take you long to get your first sale from when you set up on your own?
No, I had the first sale probably in the first week or two.
Oh, gee, okay.
So, sorry, first listing, yeah. First listing.
Is that just from like your network, or was that just from having the shop window?
I had spoken to a couple of people, and they said they were going to sell and whatever else, and then I said, look, I'm opening up a business next month, you know. So, and they said, yeah, I want to sell with you, like, don't sell it with anyone else. So I said, look, I'll have the shop open in November, you know, come with me. At that stage I wasn't working with the other company, like, but I said, look, I'll have it open, like, you know, so. Yeah.
Did you have a non-compete where you couldn't go into competition against them for any period of time?
No, nothing like that at all, like, you know, so, and yeah, it was great. Like, in fairness, like, I ended things well. I didn't have, and like, again, I was always a company person, like, you know. I'd always end respectfully, you know, because Ireland is a very small place. So that's the way I did it. And you know, I still, it's very cordial between myself and them now. Like I said, it's a professional relationship, so there's no issues there. But like I said, it was, yeah, so like I said, it was hard. Like you went out and you got your first listing and it was just, you know, it was hard, you know, because it's not like social media now. You could go off and do loads of free content. Back then you had to print off stuff and it was costing you money. But at first I didn't mind it. I put on a jacket and put on a pair of runners and you'd be going out and you try, you know, I was door knocking. I was doing everything and anything to get the business on, like, you know.
Is it like your 50k, like seed money we'll call it, like, is that what the majority of that money went on, was just print advertising?
No.
Or is there like insurances and everything
I'd
else?
say back then 35, 40 went on opening the office.
Okay, geez.
So like...
That was like, did you have to do it up or?
Yeah, had to do it all up. So you're talking about like it was in really bad condition or office. So put in your flooring, your electrics, your fire, because then you had to put in your fire alarm system, your toilets, your furniture, office furniture, your displays. You had to set up a website. I had to obviously get all your business cards and printing done up and whatever else and so on. So you had to basically you had to start from zero and start with everything then. And then you spend all that money and you've no money coming in, like, you know.
What was your monthly rent on the office, just out of curiosity? Or do you remember?
I think it was around 22 grand a year. Okay. So at the time, so it wasn't a cheap office, like, you know. It was a county council office. Sorry, it was a private individual that owned it, but the county council had a lease on it, and then we sublet it off the South Dublin County Council. Okay. But they obviously went in and paying a higher rent, you know, so we had to we negotiated it down a bit, but like I said, it was still a high enough rent for you to come up with 2 grand a month or 1,800 quid a month, like, you know.
Yeah, jeez. And how long did it take you then to get your first employee?
I took her with me from the other company I was with.
So 2 of you started at the same time?
2 of us started. She came in and she just came in as kind of like an office manager kind of thing. Okay. Hannah at the time, and she was great, like, because again, I was brutal at that type of stuff, like, you know, websites and admin type of stuff and whatever. I was salesy and whatever else. So she did all of that kind of stuff, which was great there, like, you know. So it was, which is great. So she kind of was there in the office, and then I was out and about the whole time, just trying to drum up business and calling into shops and business cards and this and that, and you know. So and then I had, obviously, in the last place before me, stupidly, she didn't give us any company phones, so I had all the phone numbers in my phone. So every single person I was ringing, I've gone out my own, I've done this, if you have any brothers or sisters selling, da 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 da. Again, texting. There was no WhatsApp back then, it was all texting. But I was ringing them. No, it was numbers in my phone, so I rang every single person there that I had ever spoken to. You know, every friend of mine, I told them that I'm gone out my own, you know, as in tell the
spread the word.
Yeah, tell the delivery man, tell your mum, tell your auntie, tell your uncle, you know. So and that was it. And then it just, you get a sale here, you get a sale, and you just, even to this day, it's one client at a time, and you give customer service. And then what happened is, they're in talking to you and work, and they're like, oh, I just sold my house to Ray Cooke. Oh, geez, I'm thinking about selling my house. If you get them out, you'll go out and value it for you, you know? Yeah. And the problem is, you go out and value it, and you're not selling for 6 months. It was a killer, like, you know? Yeah. But I'd be like, oh, you need to sell now, you know? Don't mind 6 months, you know? But then it was, you know, that's how we just built it and went from there. And then the business then took off. It started flying then. And that was end of 2005. 2006 then, it was absolutely flying it. And I like, listings were coming on from everywhere, like, you know.
Is that girl Hannah still with you to this day?
No, she's not.
How long did she stay with you for?
She was with me for a long time. She had another baby, basically.
Oh, okay.
And then that was, she had 2 more babies. Sorry, she had 2 more babies after that. So she had 2 babies, and then 2 older ones, and then 2 younger ones.
Okay.
And then it was just childcare and whatever else, and it was just, she was under a lot of pressure now, like, you know. Right. So in fairness, she finished up with us, but like on good terms. Like, she was brilliant, like, you know. So, but at that stage, the company was probably at 15 employees then at that stage, like, you know. So
was there any point, like, at the very start where you're like, this isn't going to work, or it could fail, or did you come close to like nearly kind of going? Of
course it did, because 2006 then, right, you have 2006 then flying it, you know, right in the height of the Celtic Tiger, sales coming from everywhere and anywhere. It was unbelievable. 2007 then was just, everything was going like this. I was doubling my sales. I was making, I don't know, I was easily making, in 2006 I was probably making 20 grand a month. You know what I mean? Like, so to probably the next year I was probably making 30 grand a month. You know what I mean? Like, so it was just, everything was just going up, you know. At that stage I had 3 employees or maybe 4 employees at that stage. And then, 3 employees I think at that stage. And then Lehman Brothers collapsed. Sorry, what happened there was the election was coming up. And Michael McDowell and Sinn Féin opened their mouth and said, if we get into government, we'll abolish stamp duty. And a stamp duty at that stage would have been, for first-time buyers, up to 290,000 was nothing. But over that then it could have been costing you 10 grand, 15 grand. It was huge. Like, and then if you're an investor or a second-time buyer, it could be 25 grand for a house or 300 grand. Like, it was I can't remember what the percentage was. So it was huge money, like 10. Imagine you saying, oh, you have to pay 25 grand stamp duty. But if we get into government in 6 months' time, you won't have to pay that 25 grand. So if you're thinking, I think I might hang on 6 months and see what happens, and that's what happened. People,
so the market froze, basically.
Yeah, and back then the budgets and whatever else were around December, where they're in September now. So I remember from September to when they opened them out to the budget, like I remember, I think I had 2 sales that went through instead of, like, you know, like I said to you, I was probably doing 6 or 7 sales a month closing at that stage, and then it went to 2 in like 3 months, and I was kind of going, okay. And then the election came then as well, and nothing happened, and then Lehman Brothers collapsed. So at all around that time we could see, oh shit. Crap. And at that stage I started doing, obviously we were doing lettings at that stage as well.
Okay.
So because we obviously had to start bringing, not as many, because again sales were so easy, like, you know, they're like, you'd put a property up and it'd be gone after a week, 2 weeks, you know, and again, you know, they'd be buying on another property and so forth. So sales were just got flying out, you know, and obviously they were bigger money. So and like I said, the lettings still weren't sexy at that stage, like, you know. So yes, they paid you, but no one was doing them really, like, you know.
What's the most expensive house that you've ever sold?
I sold land for 5 million.
5 million. That's the most.
Yeah, that's the most. Like, we've sold loads of properties over 1 million, between 1 million and 2 million there, like, you know. So loads of them in around that level there, like, you know. So
nice fee there.
Great fees, you know, great fee. Like, our average fee is probably around 650, 700 grand.
Okay, geez. Yeah. That's the average.
Probably true. We've all different offices in different locations around Dublin. So
across the board.
Yeah. So it's every office would have different, you know, higher ones or lower ones depending on the location and that area, like.
Right. And at that stage, right before like the crash in 2008, were you like frugal with money at that stage then, or were you like just spending it when you were making that 20k a month? Or
no, like I said, but by the time I was 25, I had 3 properties.
Okay.
So like I said, so in that 2 or 3 years I bought 3 properties, like, you know. So I was keeping my head down, I was buying properties. I was maybe 26 when I bought my 3rd one, and it was just different times, like, you know. So banks were a little bit more freer with money and stuff like that, and obviously living in one of them and had the other 2 rented out or whatever. So, and that was the way it was, like, you know. So I was frugal enough with money, because any money I was making, I was pumping back into the business, you know, or I'd hire another staff member, because I was thinking, right, like, I can only sell so many houses, but if I hire somebody else, then we can sell hopefully double the amount of houses, you know. So I can only be ever shown 1 property at one time, you know. Whereas if you had another agent there, you could be doing twice the amount of viewings on a Saturday or Tuesday or Wednesday night, like, you know.
In terms of like, right, so you've obviously scaled it. You're saying there earlier, you've got 70 plus employees.
75 employees.
Yeah, now, 75 employees. How did you learn to like systemize the business, right? Because I'm sure you had to put in systems and processes and procedures to make sure like everything kind of flowed. Did you hire someone to do that for you, or did you just kind of do it yourself and put it on paper?
No. Like in 2015, I actually hired my best friend. Okay. And again, he is a systems man and more. He's not a salesy guy, like, you know. He's more very. He's a degree in applied physics, like, you know. Okay. So he could be doing CSI, you know, that kind of stuff, like, you know what I mean. So but he came in working for me, and he was working in a family business, and I don't think he was too happy. He was looking at changing, and of course, drunk one night in the pub. You know what I mean? Like, you know. So look, I'm actually looking for something. I think it'd be great, like, you know, to come over and whatever. And he was in a different place, because he was in a relationship and he was about to get married, or he was going to be getting married. I was single or whatever, and they wouldn't have known me, because there was 2 different me's. Like, there was work me, and then there was crack me. Like, you know what I mean? Over with the lads, like, you know, and. He probably wouldn't have known, you know, the Ray Cooke, you know what I mean? Whereas then, you know, the lads would have my nickname over here, you know what I mean? Like, so I was nearly like, you know, Jekyll and Hyde, like, you know, and I kind of said to him, look, this is what I'm doing, da da da. So I was in his ear, and then he came in, and that, because I was doing everything through the recession, and everything was bootstrapped through the recession. Like I was the, you know, to cut back on costs, I was washing the windows, I was sweeping the floor, you'd be cleaning the offices, you'd be the marketeer, and social media kind of took off around after, what was it, 2011 or 12, Facebook or whatever. I was doing that stuff. Your video editing, or well, maybe it wasn't video editing now compared to what the lads are doing nowadays, but
totally different.
But like I said, but like compared to what it was back then, so I was doing loads of stuff. Like and then I was a number one sales guy. I was going out and valuing all the houses. I was bringing on the lettings. I was managing the team. I was the accountant. I was doing the bookkeeping. Like I'd be in the office till 12, 1 o'clock at night, like doing my bookkeeping. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so I had a big red book and I took everything down because I wasn't in control. Like you asked me the question, were you in control of my money? Probably in the first couple of years I wasn't, because there was money coming in everywhere, you know. And it doesn't matter. Like you'd be like, oh, what? And the phone would be ringing and did more business and there was more sales, which was great. And then the recession happened and the phone stopped ringing. And the only time the phone was ringing, it was like people shouting down the screen. No, not only money, but it was like, oh, why is my house selling? You know. And all of a sudden it was pressure and stress, and you know, all of a sudden, you know, tenants stopped paying rent, or people moved out, or I still had bank loans, you know, because I had obviously bank loans and stuff like that to pay, and it was a different type of pressure. So basically for 2 years it was torture. And luckily enough I had a brilliant Bank of Ireland guy, and
restructured everything.
And he was brilliant, and he came in, and I remember doing a business plan for him, and he was very direct with me, and he said, I don't know if you can curse here, like,
go ahead.
and he said, cop the fuck on, you know, as in that's just stupid what you're after sending me. You're not going to do that this year. There's no way you're going to sell that or rent that or whatever. And I had to do it 3 or 4 times for him, you know, before he'd accept it. And back then it was like sell 10 houses and rent 30 houses, and then that was your budget, or it wasn't probably that small, but it was really like tiny. And he was probably dead right, because the way things went. And then he was able to put all my loans together, and that's what saved me. And if he didn't do that, I probably wouldn't be here today, like, you know. And I got that one loan going out, and it was just like, it was like being on the ground and a bigger fella than you, 10 times bigger than you, a boot on your bloody head and on your shoulders, and that's what it felt like. And all of a sudden it was off, and you're kind of going, wow. So then I just got the head down, and I just concentrated on doing it, just lettings. Lettings. That's all. We turned into a lettings business overnight. We were cold calling people. We would ring you 5 times. If we saw that ad up on a website or Daft, or it was the newspaper advertising back then as well. They'd advertise in the Herald and whatever. You'd be ringing them. You'd be getting the newspaper every day. You'd be ringing them and say, oh, you have something to let there, you know, and giving them the whole spiel and whatever else, and getting that business on. And the fees were nothing. Like, the fees could have been 300 quid, but it was cash coming in. Cash coming in. And luckily, I only had 2 employees. I didn't have to let either one.
That's what I was going to ask you. Did you have to scale back the team? Or?
No, we didn't have to scale back the team. But there were some times that I couldn't pay myself, and there was sometimes I had to say to them, look, I can only give you half now, but I'll give you half in 2 weeks' time. Sorry, the remainder of your way. And that happened a good few times, and they were grand with that, because they could see there, like, you know, like Hannah at the time worked in Clondalkin, or lived in Clondalkin, and she'd be passing by at night time with kids going somewhere, and she'd see me in the office working at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. You know what I mean? So she could see
security there.
Oh no, she could see, hold on, this fella is doing his utmost to keep these doors open and keep us employed. And I kind of felt a bit of pressure, because she had young kids and she had a mortgage, and there was another fella there as well, like I said, Ross, who's actually still with me now 18 years later, and he was there as well. He was obviously only a younger fella there as well, but again, just I felt the pressure there to kind of keep it going. And so it was tough time. Just
a pivot really to lettings. Was it a bit of a heartache for you because you didn't like the underlettings, that you just had to all of a sudden just accept it and bite the bullet?
Like even lettings now today are hard. They're extremely hard. Like for the money that you make off them and the crap that you have to deal with,
it's quite complex.
It's huge, you know. And then obviously with all the rental rules being changed, it's a minefield. And if you didn't have a lettings, like 90% of the phone calls that we receive every day are from tenants ringing in looking for properties. So like I said, and then they're just abusing on the phone, and they're doing this and they're doing that and whatever else, and we just don't have enough properties to rent. But back then it was different, because you would have to actually get people into a car and drive them around, and you could have 4 or 5 properties for every one tenant. So like that's what I'm saying, like there was 5 properties or 4 properties for every tenant that you had, and they would go eeny meeny miny, yeah, I'll take that one there. You know what I mean? And you'd rent the property to them, like, you know.
Right.
So
was it not until 2015 that you really started to scale up, or were you?
no, what it was, I actually opened my second office in 2009 in Tala,
Right.
and I only restructured my loan.
Right.
And again, I knew I could live off a certain wage, and I kept my wages at the same for probably 3 or 4 years, to be honest.
Right. Okay.
And any money that I made, and it was just kind of like, I saw people closing in Tala, and we were doing a lot of business in Tala and whatever else, and I was kind of going, this is a huge area, like am I missing a trick here, like, or why are these closing down? Obviously recession,
Yeah.
but like I was kind of going, there's still, if I can get in there
There's
and do what I did here in Clondalkin and get a cheap office, as in run it cheaply or whatever. And I did. I found an office, and it was in front of a solicitor's, and we had the shop front and a couple of small offices, and it was ideal. The rent was relatively cheap. I hired another 1 or 2 guys, and we opened that office. I based myself obviously between the two of them, and again, that was probably a lettings office for selling a few houses, but like, it could take you 2 years to sell a house. You know, so there was no money in selling houses, like, you know, like at the worst of it, I think I sold 11 houses in 1 year, you know, like we're going to sell 900 this year, you know, it's just to give you an example. Yeah. So like I said, but lettings, we would have been doing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of lettings. But again, it was small fees, but it was money, it was cash flow coming in. And then we said, right, we'll start getting them onto property management and managing those. So that means it was a steady income kind of coming in every month. And we went from there, and we just built it and built it and built it now, like, you know, so.
Is it a sexy job, like real estate, right? Because you see like the New Yorker selling Sunset, whatever it is.
Yeah, Ryan Sarant.
Ryan Sarant, like his book actually. Is it a sexy job, or is it just a slog and it's quite boring? It's just coming into work every day and run the marathon.
It's a great job.
Yeah.
It's a great job, but you have to be a property person to work in this job. And what I mean by that is, it's like Marmite. It's either you love it or you hate it, you know. So you have to be, because you're dealing with people's biggest assets, and they are absolutely lunatics, because it's such an emotional roller coaster. It's going up and it's going down, and they're trying to buy a property, and they're trying to get a certain price, and sure, their uncle told them they should get this price, and you know, then imagine if you have 25 of those sales on at one time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and whatever else. And then you're trying to get the deals across the line, because and there's a chain. You're selling this house here, but your vendor's going on to buy a house here, and then your purchaser who's coming in has to sell their house. So all of a sudden you have 3 properties in here that if one of them falls through, the whole deal falls through. So you're trying to keep the whole deal going ahead. You're trying to make sure solicitors are doing their jobs, etc., etc. So is it a sexy job? It's a brilliant job. You know, I think a lot of younger people coming into the industry now think you're going around and they might see certain people, they're driving their flash Beamers and Audis and their Louis Copeland suits and their whatever. You know what I mean? So it's a very financially rewarding job if you're good at it.
Okay.
But you have to put in the hours. It's not sexy because you have to do your viewings in the evenings and Saturdays. And the younger people now want to work 9 to 5. So they'll come in and they won't last in it, because they'll be just on basic wages then, and
no commission.
Yeah, and they think basic wages are great when you're 22, 23, but then in 5 years' time when they're still on that wage, because they're not progressing. So for you to be a good real estate agent, you have to view houses, to sell houses, or to rent out houses, like, you know.
Pretty proactive. What kind of hours are you actually working, right? So, like, are you strict on the guys coming into the office? You have to be in at 7 and finish at 5, or can they come in at 11 and finish at 8? Like,
yeah, we changed our office hours years and years ago to 9:30 start, because a good few of them had kids and stuff like that.
Okay, yeah.
And do the school run, get the school run out of it, and then our office is 9:30 to 5:30. So they have to be in the office, at 9:30. You know, a lot of lads are in there at 8, 8:30. You know, but the vast majority of them would be coming in at whatever, 9:15, 9:30, and then they're going out. You're asking the amount of hours. You're probably talking about a minimum of 50 hours. Sorry, the salespeople, minimum of 50 hours a week. Yeah. Some are doing 70.
But if you're getting sales, you're making it back.
Yeah, well, if you want to be on 6 figures, you know, you're working 60 plus hours a week. But the rewards are, you know, you keep doing that for a number of years, and you have a portfolio of properties. You're living in a big house. You have a great lifestyle, you know. Are
you encouraging your staff to buy property as well?
100%, yeah. If they're not buying properties, I'm killing them. I'm killing them if they're living at home and they're 25. I'm like,
Yeah.
what? Like in this
Well,
job,
yeah.
see, in our job, you can write as much money as you want. You know,
Yeah.
you're on a basic and you're on commission, but the more you do, the more you get paid. So you should be getting out there and doing as much as possible. And if they're not, then I actually take that as that I'm after failing them.
Okay, yeah, that's fair enough.
So I'm always pushing them.
Let's say like I come into your business, I'm a new real estate agent or whatever. How long is it going to take me to make 6 figures? Like how many years are we talking?
They have to get qualified now. So you spoke
Okay.
about earlier on
Having a license.
that have to get a license, right?
Yeah.
So the licensing process is it's a 2-year from September to May. So there's different types of courses that they can do. A lot of them are going down the apprenticeship route there as well, where they go into Balls Bridge, and they're in college, depending if they're in first year or second year, they're either in the Tuesday or the Wednesday, and they're in there for the full day. They're doing projects the whole time and everything like that, but they do it from September to Christmas, and then I think they're back in the end of January to May. But then they're working with us then as well, do the
Yeah.
days then as well, like, you know.
That's a proper apprenticeship, is it?
Yeah, and then there's other ones that do evening courses or online courses. So you can do the IPAV course in Tala, not IT anymore, whatever it's called over in Tala now.
Tech University or something like that.
So
yeah.
like I said, so they go in on a Saturday, it's a full day Saturday, and then there's another one down in Sligo and Cork as well. The Sligo one I think you can do online as well, like, you know, but you have to be doing projects and you have to be doing whatever there as well, like, you know.
Do you have as a business, do you have a preference one over the other, or just you're happy enough whatever works for the
like I
individual?
said, like we've 12 or 13 apprentices there
Okay.
working for us at the moment, like, you know, going through the college. So, and they're mixed.
Yeah.
Some of them are Sligo, some of them are IPAV. A good few of them are doing the Balls Bridge one, like, you know.
Right. And does it depend on what course you do? Depend on what the base is, or is everyone across the board?
Everyone's
same
across the
base?
board, yeah. It's the same base, like, so we have some there that are a property manager.
Yeah.
We have some that are lettings and some that are sales. So they're coming in and then they do a full traineeship, like, you know.
Yeah.
So they start from the bottom and then work their way up, like, you know. So and then come the end of the 2 years, they're probably realistically another 2 years after that, they should be hitting 80 to 100 grand.
So 3+ years.
Working for us, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
What's like?
And if they're not, then
Yeah.
that's their problem.
What's your what's the turnover rate like, right, for like new guys coming in thinking they want to be in this sexy kind of industry to kind of leaving? Like, is the turnaround time like 3 to 12 months, or is it, do they leave pretty quick?
You find out very quickly who's good and who's not, you know. We call it the no dickheads rule.
Yeah.
So like I said, it's from the All Blacks, you know. So we have a very high performing team. So we can't bring C players into A players. So we've the no dickheads rule.
Yeah.
So, or you have people come in that just have the wrong attitude, or their energy is wrong, or, you know, and it doesn't matter where you work. Like, you see those people coming in, they don't want to work, and everything is negative, and everything is an excuse for everything. Like, you know, they're moaning about everything. So, years ago I would have let them there for years, you know. But again, with experience and as you grow up yourself and whatever else, you turn around and say no. Get rid of them straight away. Cut your loss straight away. Hire quickly and fire even quicker.
Yeah, just recently implemented that.
Yeah, it's the best thing, and it's the hardest thing, because you kind of
heartbreaking as well.
Yeah, you get to know them, and they're really good guys, and we've had a couple of great guys working for us, but they were just terrible salespeople, you know, and, you know, they're losing us business basically, you know. Like, we'd never put a property up for sale and then it'd be taken down and go with another agent. But with certain guys there over the years, we're losing properties and we're kind of going, what's going on here? Like, you know, what the hell? And it seems to be the same fella every time. And then you get under the hood of it and it was just them and their attitude and, you know, not putting the work in and just not doing the things the Ray Cooke way that we'd want them to do it. So again, you know, and I made mistakes there where I had guys there an extra year or two. I shouldn't have. Nowadays, I'm not as nice, you know. So it's because it's not even me; it's my team coming along to me and saying.
Well, it affects the whole team. If you've got like one bad person there, it can bring the whole environment down, changes the culture.
They're the ones coming on to me and say, "Here, look, Connor's not doing his job here. He's not doing this. He's not doing that. He's not going to make it." You know, and they're nearly saying it straight away. And I'd always be positive. Look, you have to give them time. You weren't great when you started, and they have to learn. And it is hard because you're coming into a place that's 100 miles an hour, and it's, again, we do have the thing, you have to, you know, we don't put the baby armbands on and put them into the baby pool. First of all, we're kicking them into the deep end. You know what I mean?
By fire,
it is, and that's like, if you're coming in to work for us, it's fast, it's quick. This is the way we do it. We're professional. It's a team ethic again. It's the Ray Cooke board that's going up. Like, it's not Ross McHugh or James Droney or Connor Clark going up on the board. It's Ray Cooke. So the more Ray Cooke boards are up, the more the phone is going to ring. So again, going back to when I started, when I was working, that was the mindset that I brought in. And like all of these people I would have trained up, or the vast majority, and now they're training the lads up the same way, like, you know, and you have to be that mindset.
Yeah. What's your interview process? Like, do you have one of your team meet them first? Do you have a HR department, or are you meeting them directly?
No, we don't have a HR department.
Okay. That's good.
If you've worked for me, I remember bringing it up there because, we're getting big now, and maybe you had 50 staff at this stage. And I said, look, maybe we need to bring HR. And all my heads of department just said, no, that this isn't the type of place for a HR department, like, you know. So, and it was them that said no. So I said, okay, no hassle. So we don't have HR. So we deal with it ourselves. Okay. And everyone that works for me has my number, hopefully has a relationship with me that they can pick up the phone and say, I'm not happy or this or that. No, some people don't, you know.
Yeah.
But the vast majority of them know they can contact me. I try to have a personal relationship with them all. That I can go in and, you know, how's the boyfriend? What's your child's name? Oh, little Johnny. How's Johnny?
Yeah.
Is he? Oh, what class is he in now? Or, you know, you'd remember something. I would have a personal interest because I want them to do well, like, you know. But the hiring process would be, obviously, my team could interview them and they'd say this person's a good guy, and then I'd meet them.
You'll meet them. Second round, meet the boss.
Yeah, I'd go in and meet them, and at that stage, in fairness, I trust my team. You know, there is an odd time where I go in, no, I don't like them, but it's not that rare. Like, in fairness, my team know what we're looking for. Yeah. And if they're a good fit or they're not a good fit, like, you know, so we have a certain level that we want to bring somebody in, like, you know, so.
Quick pause in the conversation to shout out two of today's sponsors. First up, IT.ie, your trusted partner for managed IT services, cybersecurity and modern workplace solutions. If you want your business running smoothly, securely and future ready, these are the people to talk to. You can visit IT.ie for more information. And if you're moving house, scaling a business, renovating, or just need a bit of extra breathing room, Nesta Storage can really take the stress out of the process. They offer secure, modern and flexible storage solutions with both short and long-term options, perfect if your new place isn't ready yet, or if you don't want to move everything at once. Simple, safe and stress-free storage when you need it most. Plus, Nesta even offer a free moving service. You can visit nesta.ie for more information, or even give the guys a call. Let's get back to the conversation. Here we go.
What are you looking for? Right? Are you looking for like academics? Are you looking for personality? And are you testing for that then, like with psychometric testing as well? Or?
Yeah, years ago we just hired people that played GA. You know what I mean?
Right,
so,
okay, yeah.
No, but
there's a few companies like that.
You know what I mean? So, like, and whatever, you know, good country lads coming up, like, you know, because we looked at it for years, right? And you have the Dublin fella who's living at home with the dad or mum, and the mum was washing his clothes and putting dinner on the table every day. Yeah. And then
not under any mad pressure.
And then you have the country fella coming up and he has to rent a house or rent a room, and you know, it's the car expense, and like he's hungrier, like, you know. Yeah. Now that's not always the case, but at the beginning that was the case, and that's what we were doing. Yeah. But as they come in, do you know, when I'm looking at a CV, right, I always look back to, do they have any work experience? Where have they been working? I love to see them working in some sort of front-facing job, like a pub or a bar or a shop or something, because then they actually have to deal with people. Whereas if they're not dealing with people, like our job, 95% of it is communication, is talking to people, and people actually liking you. And if they don't like you, they're not going to trust you. And if they do like you, they'll do anything, or they'll listen to your advice or whatever, or they come back and they're gonna, as I always say, you can't control what they say about you afterwards. So your client has to be your cheerleader. So when you're not in the room, they're like, oh, Ray Cooke is this and Ray Cooke is that or whatever. You have to sell your house or rent your house. You can't control that, but what you can control is your communication, your relationship. Do as you say you're going to do. So if you say you're going to ring someone at 5 o'clock today, you're going to ring someone at 5 o'clock today. If you say you're going to ring someone after a viewing, ring them after a viewing. If you're going to do this, you're going to do that. Whatever. Do what you say you're going to do. And that's what you can control. And then they might turn around and say, yeah, I didn't really like Ray that much, but you know what? He was brilliant. His communication was spot on. He got me the money. He's hungry as so-and-so, da-da-da-da-da. Or whatever, you know, because you're not always going to get on with someone, like, you know, so they might be a Man United fan or something, like, you know what I mean, like, or, you know, so.
I think you're a Villa fan, eh?
I'm a Villa fan, big Villa fan, yeah. I love the Villa. We're doing well at the moment now, like, I don't know when this podcast goes out now, so there might be 10th by the time this goes out.
Okay. So it's 2 rounds of interviews, no psychometric testing, but there has to be some kind of work experience. So I always recommend, like, even for air jobs, they're probably similar in terms of, like, you've got 2 sales. You've to sell to the customer and to sell to the client.
But it all goes on the interview as well.
Yeah.
Because like the CVs coming in now, you can see there that AI are bloody writing them all now. Like, you know what I mean? They're nearly all uniform now coming in. So again, we interviewed them, and the amount of people that brilliant CVs and whatever, and they can't even look you in the eye. They're like this in the interview, and they're like, and you're kind of going, all right. And then I remember turning around to one fella one time and say, look, 5 minutes, and I say, look, you didn't get the job, right? So like, there's nothing to be nervous about anymore, and whatever else. I say, look, it's not going to work out. You're not probably what we're looking for, but look, anyway. Oh, geez, I've seen the CV there that you like playing a bit of golf. Geez, I started playing golf. I opened up about it, started talking, and that we ended up hiring him.
Yeah.
After that, but you know what I mean. But it was just straight away. Look, you didn't get the job, whatever. And then all of a sudden, the shackles came off. A lot of these guys, and I don't know if it's just the younger generation. Like, they're on social media. Did you talk to him? Yeah, did you actually talk to him? Oh no, I sent him a WhatsApp or a voice.
They're afraid of the phone, yeah.
They're afraid to actually talk to people, pick up the phone and actually have a conversation with people. Or what happens if he says this? Well, so what? Like, go with the flow and go with the way the conversation goes. Like, so, and that's the problem I think with these kids now. Like, I know it sounds very old now, like, but like I said, these kids back in the day, but that's the way it is now.
No, I think it is. Like, I think it's like I think like years ago, you'd have been if you're a bald or whatever, you'd have been sent to your room. You weren't allowed out. You weren't allowed to play, whereas like now it's like, well, I'm happy to stay in my room. So you're nearly kicking kids out the door if
they're unreal now. Like, and I've seen that. I have 2 young kids at home as well, and you do see that. Like, you know what I mean? Everything is like the YouTube or their iPad or whatever. We don't let them have the iPads during the week, but like I said, they just want to get their iPads. We were talking about the phones earlier on and stuff like that. They're dangerous now as well. Like, so mine don't have them yet, but they will eventually have them there as well when they start secondary school. Like,
Has your business had to adapt with that kind of mindset of like the younger generation coming through, or are you just not hiring them if they're not willing to get on the phones, or are they out the door pretty quick if they're not on the phone?
Yeah, yes and yes. So, we've had to adapt.
Yeah.
They're not, even the 30-year-old that we have and the 22 or 24-year-old coming in, like, they're just
different,
a completely different breed, and we've had to change. We've had to change. I'm not going to say, oh no, it's our way or the highway.
Yeah.
We've had to adapt to them, even the way we speak to each other in meetings. Like, we used to have meetings there, we'd call each other out, they'd call me out, I'd call you out, and then we go and have a coffee afterwards and everyone's grand. Nowadays, if you say anything to someone, they're nearly taking a mental health day, So it's, so how we conduct ourselves is different. How you manage these younger team members is completely different now compared to, you can't say that to them, or, oh Jesus, like, it's just, I call them snowflakes, but like I said, but that's what it is. Like, they're just, but there's a few of them then that are absolutely,
some killers out there, like.
Oh, absolutely. And like, we have a few of them, and they're machines, and they're focused, and they come in and they can see the bigger picture, and they can see. I remember doing a thing with them there on a training day last year, and I got them to write where they want to be in 10 years time, then where do they want to be in 5 years time, where do you want to be in 2 years time. So what are you going to do in the next year to get to there, to get to there, to get to there, because they're saying, I want to, because I had a list of questions, how much money are you going to be earning, who are you going to be living with, what house are you going to be living in, where are you going to be living, so they're all putting down, Taryn, you're a 4-bed house, 1.5 million, that's grand. So in 5 years time, where are you going to be living? Oh, I'll be living here. Okay, in 2 years time. So from 2 years, how are you meant to get to 5 years? So again, they have to start thinking, because a lot of them, they're not thinking about the future. They're all looking at Instagram and thinking, oh, get rich quick thing.
It doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist. You have to just, my attitude is, you have to just go and work your arse off. You have to go in, and this whole thing is, you have to find the job that you love and destiny and all this kind of bullshit. It's not. You just need to go in and find a job that you are the best at and that you are number one at, and then make a shitload of money at it.
Yeah.
And then everything else will fall into place afterwards. You'll have the house, you'll have the holidays, you'll have the lifestyle, you have the cars, you'll have the clothes, whatever you want will fall into place, like, so.
Yeah. Work for money and love your family.
Yeah, and that's it. Like, I love to say there was this, I love my job, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But there's shit days. Like, there's days there now that you're like, oh, what am I doing all this for? Like every day I've a HR problem, you know. So I know there's no HR, but it's every day because you've so many people,
fighting
you know.
for us, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. You're ringing someone, or someone's after breaking up their boyfriend or the girlfriend or this or that, or someone's not wants a pay rise, or you know, whatever. It's every single day, like, you know. So, but besides that, you have to love it though. Like I love it. I still love meeting people or getting business on, and that's what I get. That's my buzz, you know.
Sale,
Yeah.
So I like that as well. Or sending the invoice.
That's even better.
That's
Yeah,
the best
you know?
one.
Yeah.
But in terms of like a new kind of person coming in, right? Like what kind of KPIs do they have to hit like in that first kind of 3-month period? Like, or is there KPIs?
Depends if they're a trainee or depends if they're qualified, you know. So if they're a trainee, they're shadowing someone or they're under someone, and they do have, and with us they can still earn commission if they're obviously helping to rent or sell that property or to do whatever. So we would be the first probably year they have to just say they have to sell 40 houses, year after 65, year after 80 plus.
Okay, but there's no like you have to make so many calls, you have to do so many leaflet drops or viewings. No?
Everyone has to be contacted.
Okay.
That contacts the office, you know, for sales. We can't do it in lettings.
Yeah.
Because you could have one letting on and you could have 800 inquiries.
Right.
So a lot of our agents would have 15 lettings on. Jeez. So you could do the sums there. Like, you just can't ring everyone back. And nowadays as well, the way the lettings have gone as well, it's gone to PC. Like, you can't say anything to a tenant now. If not, you're in front of the WRC and they're trying to fine you for 30 grand.
Yeah.
So you can't do any of that anymore. So whereas in the sales, obviously someone's inquiring about a sale or they're looking at selling a house or whatever. A letting, it's completely different. So, you know, but like, so we don't have KPIs like that. They have to ring so many people or whatever. But there would be different things in relation to getting business on and referrals. We have an ecosystem in the business, which we call. So again, talk about all the different businesses. So we try to keep the business in. So if someone rings into the office, you're trying to refer the mortgage business. Okay. The mortgage guy is, you're thinking of selling, sure, I can get someone to give you a call for a valuation. Okay. Oh, you're buying this for an investment. Oh, should we have a Ray Cooke Lettings and Ray Cooke Property Management? I don't really want to buy an investment property because I've no one to do all the work. Or should we have a maintenance company that can go in and fit it out for you? Okay. So forth. So we call it an ecosystem, and then the guys can refer a business around. So we don't want them all of a sudden going up the road to my competitor and then all of a sudden they'll get them in. Yeah. So we try to keep them in-house, you know. So and that's what we do.
And you find like people, like, you know, some people say you should breed your own staff and kind of take them from the ground up, or do you prefer, does the experienced people do just as well that come in as the people that start at the bottom?
No. We have done it both ways. We've poached staff, we've taken staff in, and we call it being trained the Ray Cooke way. So, and it's like learning to drive, you know, you're 10 to 2 and then you're down like this and then eventually you're like this or whatever. So they're basically all coming in like this.
Just giving steps in the process.
Yeah, and they don't want to work, and then they think they're superstars and they have big heads, whatever. So we train them up our way. So we prefer to bring them in as apprentices or trainees and train them our way. And then if you can't make it with us, you won't make it with anyone, you know? Well, you might make it with them, but you're never going to make the same money with us, with them than you would with us. No one has left us and gone on to be more successful. And that, I'm not saying that's a whatever, but like I said, no one has left us, you know, because if they have, they've tried to come back to us. Yeah. Because they then realise, oh geez, the grass isn't greener here now, I thought. But they don't realise how busy we are. And my attitude is, if I have a salesperson there, is to keep them as busy as possible. Because if they're as busy as possible, they have the opportunity to earn as much money as possible. Yeah. But they have to be given a service, you know. If they're not given a service, we won't give them the business. So it's a chicken and egg thing. Yeah. Like, you have to be contacting your clients back. We have to be getting good reviews. You have to be getting your Google reviews and stuff like that to make sure, I need to be hearing back. If I send someone over to deal with your sale of your house or whatever, and you're coming back and say, I could never get him on the phone, or just I'm not going to go in and kill him. I'll obviously have a chat with him, but I won't give him as many listings, you know, or new business, you know. Whereas if you turn around and say, he was brilliant, he was da-da-da, I'm going to throw listings at them, you know, to reward them, because you have to, like, you know, and that's the only way you can deal with staff is, you know, that way, like. Yeah.
Have you had to deal with, let's say, someone that was maybe in a similar situation to yourself, going out and setting up on their own?
One person, yeah. So he didn't do it right. His mother actually passed away, which was terrible. And then he wanted to take a break to go to Australia for a year. And we threw a party for him. all the staff put money together for him and everything. And whatever. And this is probably in recessionary times, like, you know.
Geez.
And, you know, 2 weeks after he left, he rang me and said, actually, I've set up my own business. He didn't have the balls to say it to us, like, you know. So that was a nasty thing to do, like, you know. So again, you could say I opened an office across the road, but I told her what.
Yeah.
And I worked my whole notice out, you know. I finished all the sales right, you know what I mean? So, and I did things right, you know. So there's a way of being professional, because Ireland is a small country.
Yeah.
I've had a couple of people that have, for example, have left us over the years and they didn't see out notice, and they basically, you know, oh, you're whatever, just things didn't work out with their direct boss or whatever.
Yeah.
And I said, no hassle. I said, don't worry about it. You know, and my head of department might be, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. And the reason I'm saying don't worry about it is because they've worked with us for 2 or 3 years. We're a huge part of their CV now.
Yeah.
So when they go to change jobs,
The reference.
they have to come back to us.
Yeah.
Now we'll, you know, but it's all of a sudden they're ringing you up and saying, oh,
Need a favour.
will you do me a favour? And say, well, look, you know, da. But look, I don't hold any grudges, like, I don't, like I said. So again, but I just say, don't be worried about it, you know. So don't be, I don't get as stressed out as I used to take things personal, like, you know, when that fella went out on his own, I probably took it personal, you know. But then again, I was in my 20s, and you know, you're so passionate. It's about, like, you're setting your business up, it's like your child, like, you know, and everything is personal. Whereas now, you know, in my job, like I said, and this job, like I said, you know, until a contract is signed, you don't believe a contract is going to be signed. I've had grown men come into my office, and obviously women as well, and they cry, they bawl their eyes out, promise you they're going to do something. They'd swear on their children's lives, and then the following day pull out the deal. So I don't take anything for granted.
I would say that's not done till it's done.
Until the contract is signed and the deal is actually closed, I don't care what you tell me. I don't care. I'm like, great, no hassle, sign the contract. No, that's great, no hassle, sign the contract. Okay. You know, and that's my attitude. I'm a little bit probably maybe stone cold like that. I'd even have, you know, friends that would be selling for friends or family, or and they'd be jumping around the place and say, well, look, we'll wait until it closes, you know, and then we'll go for a pint together, or you know, whatever, you know, glass of wine or whatever. Okay. You know,
if someone came to you now, like, and said, oh, I'm thinking about setting up on my own, Ray, would you offer them a franchise, or would you say just best of luck?
Well, they have a non-compete, so.
Okay, so you put that in place. Hard lesson.
Yeah. But no, because I, in fairness, reward my staff very, very, very well.
Yeah. Okay.
There's some staff working for me that earn more money than me.
Okay. Nice.
So they can go out on their own, but they won't earn the same amount of money going out on their own.
It'll take longer to set it all up, and you don't have that brand behind you.
Even in 10 years, they probably wouldn't be up to the level that they are now, like, you know. So they'd have to have multiple offices, and to be, I suppose, to do what I've done is I'm not saying no one else can do it. Like, obviously other agencies have done it, but they're not successful as what we are, you know. Like, we're the 3rd largest agent in Dublin now for sales, you know, probably in the country, you know. I think we're probably the biggest letting agent, we're told, you know, in Ireland. So we're probably one of the biggest managed property individual. I know there's other people that do block management, but individual management as well, management agents as well. So, but that's been 20 years of absolute slog. One client at a time. That's my attitude. One client, and you love to get the whale of a client that comes in, but then all of a sudden they're dictating everything. You know, they come in and they have 100 properties or 1,000 properties. We don't have any of those clients. You know? So a couple of clients with 50 and 100 properties, but nothing with huge numbers. Like,
if you have like yourself like managing like 50 to 100 properties, right? And let's say I'm the landlord. Is it kind of easy breezy? I'm just collecting the check at the end of the month, or would you?
If you're the landlord,
yeah.
So the whole point of it is you're hands off.
Yeah.
You don't want anything to do with it, you know. So we'll deal with the tenant. The tenant won't even have your number. If the tenant has any issues, they can raise it online, or they can phone up with an issue. We go out and do inspections on the property every three to 4 months. Okay. So the landlord, so your peace of mind that, even if you're renting that yourself and managing it, you wouldn't be going out there. You like some of the landlords. When was the last time you went to view the house? Two or 3 years ago. So how do you even know if the house is in good condition? Oh, well, she's a lovely girl. Like, you're kind of going, you know. And then they go in and there's 25 grand's worth of damage, and you're kind of going, I told you, like, you know, you can't do that, like, you know, you have to be going out. And yes, they're paying the rent, but they could, you know, the damage that someone could do at a weekend party, you know, or like we have ones there where with tenants want to know why landlords don't want cats or dogs in properties, because they don't. They piss everywhere. They wee everywhere, and all of a sudden their floors are in bits. They have them climbing all over the furniture, and all of a sudden, and the place is in bits, like, you know. So, but again, that's why we go out and do inspections. So if we see something there, we're sending you a report, but we're also then going back and saying, you know, the back garden is this. We're after telling them to do that, or there's mold growing, but she hasn't opened the window. You know what I mean? So she has to, you know, whatever. So we give you proper feedback, and then also you have to do maintenance on the property as well. So if you're at home there, how much maintenance have you done on your own property in the last year? You're tipping along, you're cleaning the gutter, you're doing a bit of painting, you're screwing the thing back in. So you have to do that with a rental property as well, and keep on top of it, because it's an investment.
And tenants, right? Because like the rental market's pretty hot at the moment. Like, what do you have to do as a tenant now to like stand out and get a property and like beat the competition, right? Because it's almost like interviewing for a job now in some
100% it's like interviewing for a job now. So like I said, we want to see bank statements, pay slips, references. Like, we're going to check them up everywhere, you know. And then you have all these, you know, agents say, oh, you can't do that. Like, we're not going to rent to someone if we don't know who they are, and then that they can't afford to live in the property. The number one thing is, can they pay the rent, and are they going to look after the house? That's all that we want to know, like, you know. So
And is there, I think I was in Spain there, and we were looking at like renting or whatever, but there was like some agents that will like pay you the rent up front, right, of whatever you're looking for, and then they will charge it out or whatever they please. Is that something that's happening in
Airbnb lads that would do that?
Airbnb.
Yeah, but they're not allowed to do it. So we have in our contracts, you're not allowed sublet.
Okay.
So like I said, so if they did that, we could get them out straight away, like, you know. So if they were in breach of the contract by subletting. But there is a lot of people that do that, yeah. So you'd have a lot of lads there that would, maybe not as much, but it used to be before all the rules kind of and regulations came into Airbnb. But there could be lads there at 90 properties in the city centre there, like, you know, 100 properties, you know. So doing it. Sure, another guy who was a famous podcast, that was his main business there as well, like, you know. So Gary Fox there as well, that was his main business.
The Airbnb, I had Gary on actually.
So that's what he did, like, you know. So that was his main business there as well. He didn't own any of the properties, but he rented them out or sublet them off the landlords, or would give the landlords a percentage of the fee or whatever, like, you know. So but there was loads of guys like that, like, you know. We had one guy, two French guys, and he doesn't have anything on Airbnb. We actually rent and manage them all there now. But they had, I don't know how many properties, like, and that's all that they did. And they had cleaning company and whatever. But it was like a business. It was just in and out, in and out, in and out. It's like, it's some organisation for that, like, and it's 24/7. Like, you're like, it's a hotel basically. You're running, like, you know. Is
like Airbnb to blame for like the rental crisis at the moment, or is that like just fake news, we'll call it?
It's not the main reason, but it is definitely one of the reasons. So because it's all about supply. So the main reason is they keep changing the rules, and there's over regulations. And since 2015, they brought in rental bans, they brought in RPZs, they keep changing the rules to the tenants' side. But the last time I checked, tenants don't create supply. You know, they don't bring any properties to the game. And you need properties to rent out. And the more properties that are on the market, the rents will go down. But the problem is, you have, I think, between 36 and 40,000 landlords properties after leaving the market in the last 7 or 8 years. Simple as that. Sure, we even saw on the headlines there in the last couple of weeks there, I think there was 3,500 to 3,700 notices of terminations in because of these new rules, mainly new rules, you know.
Do you think that it's worthwhile now for like a new kind of property investor to get involved in property, or do you think like hold off and wait and see what happens?
No. So I think it's a great time, because the rents have never been so high. There's the properties are going down, so there's always going to be demand there, because there's always going to be people that will want to rent a house. Always. Doesn't matter what way the economy is, whether you're in 2012 again in the depths of the recession, to in boom times 2007 or 2025. There's always going to be people that will want to rent a house. The only thing is, if you buy an investment property, don't buy it in Roscommon or buy it in somewhere because, oh, sure, you can rent it out and get $2,000 down there. If there's a downturn, that rent will fall by 70%, you know? So, whereas if you're in Dublin, Dublin is where the best paying jobs are. It's where the most people are. So you're always going to be able to rent that out, you know? And you'll have a choice of tenants, whether it's HAP tenants, professional tenants, couples, families, companies, whatever. You're always going to have the most people there. So yes, it's more expensive to buy in Dublin, but it's the best long-term investment for you.
How many properties, let's say, should like an ordinary Joe so look to have in their lifetime? Like, or do you have a number?
It's unique, you know, so it's great for me to say that, you know, and whatever, but I'm in probably a good situation, but a normal person should at least have one. And when I mean a normal person, you know, income there of 60 or 70 grand, household income of 60 or 70 grand, try to get a second property, you know, whether that's through inheritance, whether that's through you and your wife get together and she has a 1-bed or 2-bed apartment and you have a 3-bed house or vice versa, hold on to one of them. And it's a sacrifice, and it's hard for those 4 or 5 years if the kids start arriving and, you know, you have to sell it. But if you hold on to that property and get over that hump, you know, of, oh, we could just sell that and we could make 100 grand there and put it into the new house, but hold on to that there and deal with the crap of the tenant or whatever else, then all of a sudden you have an asset there that's going to be worth 250 or 300 grand by the time you're 65. You'll have another income coming in then as well, a rental income coming in as well. So it's your pension pot in the end of the day, and somebody else will pay off that mortgage. So if you bought a property and you put 10% down and then you rented it out the year after, like I said, the tenant is going to pay off the rest of that 90% for you over the next 20 odd years. Put it that way. What other investment is there out there that you only have to put down 10% and then the tenant will pay off the rest for you?
Okay. And let's say the property is vacant for a certain amount of time. Do you guys, let's say if someone goes through you guys, do you guys have like a guarantee that we'll have it filled in 4 weeks? And then if there's a landlord out there, right, do they have to keep it exclusive with you or could they go and canvass 3 other agencies?
Yeah, so we're regulated now, so everyone has to sign a letter of engagement with you. So we'll be the sole letting agent and when we're renting the property out. Okay. So yes, we will be, but like because lettings move very quickly, but our attitude that we say to every single landlord, so it doesn't matter if you're that landlord with 100 properties, this is your just first time renting out. It's when we're renting out a property, again, what we're looking for isn't about just putting the first tenant in that wants it. It's about making sure that we get a really good quality tenant who's going to look after the property and pay the rent on time. Yeah. Simple as that. And if we have to wait 6 weeks to get that tenant, we'll wait 6 weeks to get that tenant. Okay. And like, look, as soon as you put that in this market, you put up a rental now, it's gone. You have a bad property would have 200 inquiries, you know? So, but that doesn't mean you'd rent to any one of those 200 people. Right. You know, so, because again, our job isn't just to house those people. That's the government's job, to house those people. Okay. Our job is to look after our landlord,
you work for the client.
Our client, and make sure that they get the best tenant possible into that property. Not to just to house this person because they're in a certain situation in their life, or, you know, their mother died and they're being homeless, or their child is sick, or their child, Again, that's not our issue. Our job is to make sure, are they going to look after the house and pay the rent? Yeah,
you know, harden your heart a small bit.
I could tell you the stories, like I said. I could bring you into one of the offices for 2 or 3 hours and you'd actually hear the stories. But the problem is, again, it's about affordability. You move them into the property and then all of a sudden you have Focus Ireland on, oh, we have to pay the rent and this and that, because they can't afford the rent, you know. Some of them are obviously on HAP, and that's great. HAP is brilliant. And that's been really positive for a lot of these people and families, but there's a vast majority of them that can't afford. The rents are too high, you know. So
what do you think do you think there's a solution for it? Like, or is it just supply? That's it?
Stop pushing out the landlords that are there, first of all. Have to stop them going. And again, you'd have Barry Hearn and all these idiots from Sinn Féin coming in and say, oh, we'll just put an eviction ban on, or we'll ban landlords from selling a house. As soon as they hear that, they're going to sell. You know, they're going to get out of the market as quickly as possible, because you have these idiots on this side that are saying that for the last 10 or 15 years. And that's why we're in this position now because of these idiots shouting and screaming on social media. And also as well, the government have listened to them, or they've bowed to the pressure from Sinn Féin or journalists who are all tenants as well, giving out or whatever. So what you have to do is, first of all, stop the landlords that are there and keep them there, and then also as well, hopefully get them to buy another property or two as well, because we need to get more properties. And then it is about supply. Now, I'll tell you now what's going to be the biggest issue over the next 5 or 6 years is there's not going to be any houses to rent. Okay, if you look at the vast majority of properties that are being sold now are houses from the landlords. Okay, and people say, oh, that's fine, there's first-time buyers buying them or families, that's great. But like I said before, there's always going to be a certain amount of tenants there that are looking, hundreds of thousands of tenants every year that are looking to rent. They can't afford to buy, or they're in Dublin for 2 or 3 years and they're going to move back down to Cork or whatever, and they're going to do that. But the problem there that you have there is they're not, they're only building apartments to rent.
Okay.
And there's no houses coming on, there's no new houses coming onto the market. So there's going to be a huge shortage in the next couple of years where people, they'll go into a 2-bed and then they'll have their 2 kids or 3 kids and they're going to outgrow that apartment. And they're not going to, and a lot of these places are going to become ghettos as well.
What do you think about like the, like you see over in Parmestown, I think it is, it was like it was a build to rent type scheme that's private sector or venture capital. What do you think of those? Do you think they're good for the economy, or do you think they'll put a drain on the...
No, you need to have every type of different property.
Okay.
One of the worst things that they did was get rid of the bed sits in town, right? And people might say, oh, they were dingy shitholes, you know? But yeah, they were. Okay, but you know what? They served a purpose. You know, you coming out of college, or you going in as an intern, or you coming up from the country and a single fella or a single one or whatever, and you're going in and your rent was 500 quid in Ranelagh.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Your rent was 500 quid in Fairview or Drumcondra.
It's great locations.
You're inside the city centre, and yes, you have a room, and they might have been sharing a bathroom between 3 rooms or something like that. But if you go into a house, your rent, 3 lads are in a house and you're sharing a bathroom, you know.
Yeah,
but the only difference is you're paying €900 for that room now.
Right.
In a house share, you know, and instead of going off and paying 5, so they got rid of all of these. And in fairness, I think James Brown, the new housing minister, has basically come out and said that was a mistake. We shouldn't have done that, because that was a supply. No one lives in those properties for 15 years. They come in and they're there because they start their job and they're on whatever they started their job off back in the day, 24 grand. You know what I mean, or whatever they were,
wage, whatever it is,
working wage or minimum wage, whatever it was. And then they built their way up. And then as soon as things got, they'd either rent a bigger house or they'd buy a house or whatever it was. But now all of a sudden they took those options away. So now you have to, your cheapest thing that you can buy is rent is a 1-bed apartment, which is 1,500 or 1,600, which is...
It's a lot. It's like most people's wages. Like
their wages are gone. So if they're on $2,000 a month or $2,500 a month,
500 left for bills and food.
Yeah. So like you hear about, I heard about this. I was reading about some guy there who's coming from Navan every day. He's taking them 2 hours each way to come in and out, like to work, like, you know, and that's without any delays or whatever. So 4 hours a day coming in and out, like, and the answer isn't working from home, you know. So that's not going to work.
We're seeing a big pull back to the office from all industries and sectors, like sweeping across IT, supply chain, procurement. Everyone's back
because productivity has fallen off a cliff.
Yeah, well, I think everyone was worried that they're going to lose their job during COVID, so everyone worked a little bit harder to make sure they didn't lose their job, because everyone had to be a top performer. But then once everything got back to normal, people were like, but have a pajama day.
but as well, right, and I can understand the person who's 35, 40 plus. They have the kids, they have this and that and whatever, and there's a lot of pressure with childcare and whatever. But the younger person, why do they want to be sitting in their mom's box room, but they don't even have a desk, they have the laptop on their lap, probably sitting in the bed, and that's their office. They're not meeting anyone from 12 hours a day, you know, they're not talking to anyone. How do they learn, you know? Whereas at least if you're in an office, you know, what is the stat? Is it 1 in 3 relationships, or you meet your partner in work or the office, you know? So I think it's something like that, as 1 in 3 or 1 in 4, you know? So
it's a well since actually read them stats. I think like 3 years ago I read them. I think it was like 1 in 5 maybe.
It may be 1 in 5, so maybe that was a UK one or something. But anyway, it's something like that then. But also then as well, you're forgetting about when you're in your 20s, you know, you're going out with work lads, you're going out for a few pints, and you're making a million mistakes, but how do you learn? is going out and having a crack and having a few drinks and whatever. They're missing out on this now. So again, like I said, I know I'm probably going off topic about working from home, but again, I don't understand these young people that want to work from home. The amount of people that come into us now, especially in the financial sector and all this, they all have to work from home because everyone is offering it to them, like, you know, and you're kind of going, okay. You know, and all of a sudden their numbers, a lot of them, their numbers aren't as good as they were 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah. Do you allow remote working?
Yeah, we do. So a lot of our office staff.
100% remote or?
Some, yeah.
Hybrid.
Some do, yeah. Some do, yeah. So some do. Obviously the sales people can't, you know.
Yeah.
So they have to be in and around the office. But more of our kind of back room, like our accountancy staff, our financial services staff, yeah. So like, sure, my financial controller is a subcontractor now. She's over in Poland.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's moved back to Poland only in the last 6 months. Yeah, so that's remote working.
Yeah,
No, but in fairness, but she
puts the effort in.
oh sure, she sent me an email at 12:30 last night. You know what I mean? Like, so like she's a different breed, like, you know. So you know, but that's what I'm saying. Like, so but that's different. You know, there's no issues there with that. Where other people, you know, they drop the kids off at school and going for a coffee and they're chatting to other parents outside the school and you're seeing them at 10:30, you're kind of going, Jesus, it must be off today. They're going back and they move the mouse around for a while and she's I better go down to the shops here before the kids come back and sure the kids are back at 2:00 and you know that's why some people, and we all have those people that we work with that are always got to cut corners and always got to, you know, do the least amount of work possible. But those are the type of people when there's a recession, they're the first people to let go.
Yeah.
You know, unfortunately, but that's the truth of the matter, you know.
Okay, are you hiring at the moment?
Yep, we're always hiring. So, like I said, we're looking for apprentices and trainees to come in the sales department, lettings department. We're also looking for someone in our digital marketing as well. So we're obviously massive on social media. So someone to go out and work with our Ray Cooke lettings and property management and sales teams as well there as well. So all the jobs are up on raycooke.ie and the career section there as well. So, but we're always looking. Like, it doesn't matter what time of the year. We're always we're in this growth kind of mode. We're opening offices all over the place.
What's the best way for someone to approach the job search with you, right? If they want to work for your company, what's the best thing to drop into the office with a CV, or do you prefer the email or? The
email, but you want to just stand out with a cover letter, you know?
Okay.
So it's always good to kind of put a picture on it and whatever else. A lot of people are doing that now. That's kind of standard.
You like the picture on the CV, do you?
Yeah, I think so. Because again, it kind of, because sometimes you might say, oh, they're 20, you know, 20 years of age, or because you're looking at their CV and whatever, and you're kind of going, oh, gee, you know, then all of a sudden you see them and you're kind of, just, they look actually professional, or they look old enough, or whatever. Yeah, so we do like it, you know what I mean? So, like I said, and they jump out a little bit more because you remember them, you know? So, like I said, even when that's what we do the videos as well, like, and we're going out to meet someone to value their house, and they've never met you before, they're, oh, hi, Ray, how are you? And because they've seen 50 or 100 of your videos before, like, you know, so it's like them coming in the door, they have a better chance because you remember them, you know. So like, we look up everyone on LinkedIn, on Instagram,
do a whole background check kind of thing.
Yeah, of course we do. Yeah, we want to make sure that, you know, what we're getting, like, you know, because again, we invest a huge amount into any staff that come in, like, you know, whoever comes in, like, if they are coming in and they're coming in as an apprenticeship, we're putting at least 3 years into that, you know, and then they have a huge opportunity at, if they come in at 22, 23, at 25 to be earning six figures, you know, so like, you know, so go somewhere else, you know, and they might never earn 50 or 60 grand.
Do you have a big drop off rate for that 3 years, or is no pretty robust? Like
a lot of my staff are with me 10 plus years.
Okay, that's brilliant.
You know, like I've 3 this year with me 10 years. Next year I think I've 4 with me 10 years. Ross is with me 18 years. I think Connor's with me 14, 15 years.
Okay.
So, like I said,
solid team.
Yeah, it's a solid team. So, like I said, it's.
How do you manage to keep them, right? Like, is it just by looking after them financially, or just the belief in you?
I think that you have to tell them where you're going.
Okay.
And I'm not happy sitting still. Like, we're opening another office in Ballantyre now. We're probably going to open up another 4 or 5 offices in Dublin. We've just bought a business down in Tipperary as well, in Clondalkin. We're talking to 2 or 3 other businesses outside of Dublin as well. Right. So, and my staff know this, you know, that we're growing, and that we're 20 years in business now. I'm 45 years of age. I'm looking at the next 20 years. So I'm 65. Yeah.
Will you retire, or will you keep going?
No, I'll keep going.
Yeah.
I keep going till I drop.
Yeah.
Or till I'm pushed out. Maybe if my kids take over, they'll push me out. But no, look, I'm one of these fellas that goes on holidays and
Phone's gone.
yeah, well, the phone's always going, yeah.
Yeah.
But like I said, but after 10 or 12 days in holidays, I'm itching to get back to work. Like, so I could only imagine if I retired that I'd say my wife would kill me. You know, I just don't think, I'd say she'd get back to do something like, you know,
Yeah.
go out and set up another business or something. No, but I don't know, I love it. Like, I love working with my team as well. Like, you
Yeah.
know, I'm not just saying that like, and like that's whatever cliche,
Yeah.
but actually I love working with them. I get a buzz from working with them. I get a buzz from them coming in and I'm after putting a deposit down on something, or I'm after buying an investment property. I get a buzz from them doing well, like, you know. So like I said, it's a reflection on me now that if they're working with me, I want them to be successful as well, like, you know. So and again, the reason they probably stay with me for so long is, I suppose, I push them.
Yeah.
I'm honest with them, and I think they know, hold on, this fucker is hungry. You know, like, he's going to keep going. He's hungrier than I am here now, and he's going to keep going. And I'm going to have a job. And sure, I'm out the door busy now. I'll be even busier in a year's time or 2 years' time again, like, you know. And also as well, they're part of something. They can feel that they're part of
A bigger thing.
a bigger thing. Like, they can see there, some of them are there since we've 2 offices, and now we've 10 offices, you know. Some of them have been there when we were selling 11 houses or 12 houses, and now we're selling 900 houses, you know. So, and they can see there that we're just going in this direction, like, you know. And please God, we'll keep going.
Keep up. I think the property industry is going to stay strong. But if anyone now is looking to get into real estate, what advice would you give them?
Come in and roll your sleeves up. You know, you don't have to be the smartest person in the room, but you have to be a good communicator. You have to get on with people. You have to work hard. You have to be working 50, 60 hours a week. Yeah. And if you do, you have a massive chance of being hugely successful.
Okay.
You know, and like, what is it? Only 1% in Ireland earn over 75,000, is it, or something like that? So I saw that stat a couple of years ago. So you'll be part of the 1% club if you come in and work your arse off. And there's a huge opportunity, whether it be with me or with somebody else. But if you come in and just work your heart out, you'll get it, and just outwork everyone else.
Yeah. Do you think you can be a millionaire being an employee, or do you think you have to be an entrepreneur to be a millionaire?
No, because it doesn't suit a lot of people.
Yeah.
It doesn't suit a lot of people to go off and spend all their money on a business that
might fail.
More than likely will fail. You know, more businesses fail than succeed.
Yeah.
So, also as well, there's a lot of guys, for example, working for me, and they can just concentrate on sales or lettings or property management or whatever. Whereas then I have to concentrate on everything.
Yeah.
Like, you wouldn't want to be in my head for long.
No.
So there's always 10, 15 things going the whole time.
Yeah.
So like I said, and I love it, don't get me wrong, but it's a different head fuck, as I call it. Like, it's really just, everything is always going the whole time. So you have to be at that mindset. And if you are that mindset, that's great. But if you're not, and I have to be a risk taker. Like I said to you, I'm some lads earning more than me in the company. But like, what I would do is, any money that I've ever made, I always pump back into the business. You have to have that mindset that you have to always be growing and move. We've been saying, keep moving forward.
Yeah.
And you always have to keep moving forward. So whereas in other lads, I don't think they would like to be the number one paid employee in the company, whereas then I get it back from other ways. You know what I mean? Like, so, but like I said, that's the way I look at it, is you have to keep investing in yourself and investing. Like, I've gone off, and the last year we've probably grown by 20 staff, 25 staff. So, and my accountant, like I said, sent the email to me at 12 o'clock last night, and I'm looking at the payroll and I'm kind of going, you know, so again, but some people wouldn't be able to sleep at night, like, you know. Yeah. But straight away I'm kind of like, brush out how many sales.
Right.
That's what I'm looking at, you know. So their job is to manage my accounts and the outgoings, like, you know. So,
do you think AI will destroy your industry, or do you think because it's a people business, it will stay strong?
Okay, I'll ask you the question. If I'm selling your house, do you want a computer selling your house, or do you want me selling your house?
Yeah, I want a person doing it. Yeah, I want to deal with someone, I think.
And the reason you want the person is it's an emotional transaction.
Yeah.
So it's a huge emotional, like, the computer can't do that. So a lot of people might go the online bidding or whatever like that, and you can kind of take that, but you still have to be in people's ears and saying, we've somebody else there. If you don't go, that other person's going to buy it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a huge emotional. So that's why vendors I've never given out about estate agents. It's only people buying houses that give out about estate agents. But I guarantee you, when they go to sell their house, they're going, fucking jeez, he was brilliant, you know.
Yeah.
But they give out about you. But the amount of people that would say, I fucking hate you when I bought the house, but when I sell it, you're going to be selling it for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, do what you did to me, like, you know. And I'm not saying every offer is recorded, but it's a hugely emotional thing. So again, it's a negotiation, and this is where people, because it's such an emotional thing. But this is what we have to do is, we have to play on their emotions. You know, if we have people coming in there and they live around the corner, you know, you're pushing at them like, you need to come in strong here, or this or that or whatever. And yeah, so there will be, AI will come in and improve it, the efficiency of it, the inquiry side of it. But again, I don't really want to be going away from there. I don't want a computer or AI bot like you ringing in about a property. Oh, you press 1 for this or press 2 for that, and whatever. Okay, let me think about that. And then they're just thinking. You want to be able to talk to a person and say, look, here, I'm thinking about selling my house. I'm looking to buy a house up in whatever, Knockline, whatever, I'm not have the chat, or I'm looking for a 4-bed, or I don't know what I'm looking for. Geez, I have a budget of 600 grand. No, you won't be able to buy a house there for 600 grand. You're going to have to go down here, you know, and whatever, you know, and it's a personal thing. So, no, I don't think we'll be replaced. And people might say, oh, you'd be naive to think that, but it's such an emotional thing. And again, you talk to any vendors, they don't want the computer selling it.
Yeah. Have you implemented any kind of like AI or automation into the business, whether it's like selecting tenants or anything like that, or have you just totally stayed away from it?
No, like we obviously, we have brought in certain things in the background in relation to accountancy, leads coming in and bits and pieces like that. But no, we would you'd still deal with your own people to people, like, you know. So it will come into in relation to, like, there is obviously the online bidding stuff as well, which is big the last couple of years, where there is certain properties that come in and you know for a fact there's going to be 100 people that are going to be interested in this. And you just can't be dealing with, there could be 25 people bidding on a house, you know. You can't do it. So you have to say, right, we're going to do an online auction here, you know. Offer, we use Offer at the moment, like, you know. So again, you register the people, you make sure that they are good there, you know, that they're not just pushing the offer up on everyone else. And then, like I said, you go in that way. So that side of things, which before would have been the old traditional, you know, sold, you know, auction, you'd have whatever 30 people in the room here bidding on it. There's not as many as those auctions. They're only really for land sales and stuff, the other online stuff. So yeah, I hope something comes that improves, you know, and makes our job easier, you know, and more efficient. But you still have to have the personal touch.
Touch. Oh, brilliant. Silly question, right? But if anyone wants to sell or rent their house, where can they find you?
Online, like I said, I'm on LinkedIn. Obviously, my company pages are Ray Cooke Auctioneers, Ray Cooke Lettings, Ray Cooke Property Management, Ray Cooke Financial Services, all across all the platforms there as well. But if you want to link in with me, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Instagram, I'm on TikTok now as well. So Ray Cooke, obviously, like, so you see my face on it there as well, like, you know. So
have you always been on kind of social media, or is this a new thing for you?
No, like I said, TikTok is new, like I said, in the last week or two. But like I said, I was always on Facebook, was always on. So it's been a huge part of our business and our growth. Like, we wouldn't be here without, like, we were different to all the other agents. All the other agents were very much private schooled and daddy's business and whatever else, or daddy's contacts and whatever else. And then we came in and we ruffled it up a little bit, and we started, like, when I started off, you take a front picture of a property and that's all you see. You know, we came in and started showing everything. So it doesn't matter if the house is burnt down or whatever. Like, you know, one of our videos went viral there, like I said, a couple of months ago. It doesn't matter if the house is burnt down or if there's no kitchen in the place, the back garden, the grass is up to your...
Stick it up.
We show it, because we want to show warts on it. There's no point you coming out and viewing the property and saying, oh, I didn't realise the bedrooms were like that, I didn't realise the garden was like that. You're better off showing everyone that way. And it's better to have 5 people there than 25 people. 5 people that have seen the property and love the property. And we then started doing the walkthrough videos. So we started that, you know, and we would show everything. We wouldn't edit out the back dodgy box bedroom, you know. We'd show everything, you know. So even the bad, you know, colour schemes and... Like, we
see some dodgy ones.
Oh, Jesus, horrific, like, you know. So you'd nearly be wiping your feet walking out of the house, like, never mind walking into the house, like, you know. So absolutely horrific. But, like, again, we've absolutely beautiful houses as well, and the property porn, as they're called, like, you know, people just love looking at properties, like, and nosing at properties and whatever else, like, you know. So.
I love looking at the big American ones with the pills and someday.
They're fabulous. Everyone does. Like I just sent on one onto my wife there, one of the architects up in Northern Ireland, and it was on the beach, and it was a split level property, and it was fabulous. It was I was kind of going. It was up in Donegal or something, and I was like, "Wow!" I sent it to my wife now.
You nearly moved just to have it.
I swear to God, now it was. I swear to God, it's a fabulous house now, and obviously I love something on the sea. It'd be gorgeous now, like So.
Okay, brilliant. That's a wrap. Thanks very much for coming in, Ray.
Not at all. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you.
If you enjoyed the conversation and took value from Ray's journey, make sure to subscribe, like, or share the podcast with someone who's thinking about a career in property or business. All the links mentioned in today's episode are in the description. And if you're interested in opportunities within real estate, keep an eye on Ray's team and the roles we discussed. Thanks again for our sponsors, Top Drawer Talent, Nesta Storage, and IT.ie. This has been the 1040 podcast, and thanks very much for listening.